Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of High Scores, High Stakes, the podcast that, like an Ubisoft game, is going to show you all of its secrets. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Luvva. With me are my co-hosts.
Hi, it's Cardinal. Lovely topical reference there, Luvva. Nice to see you.
Good evening. It's Tomahawk here, guys. It's excellent to be back in the podcast record space. How are we today?
I'm all right. So, I've nothing to complain about. So that's a positive. I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah, absolutely. Start that.
Well, that's great.
Start strong anyway.
Do you know what I could say? I could say is just right before recording a podcast is the optimum time to update your Windows machine.
Yes.
There's nothing can go wrong. It's actually the best time to do it.
Yes. Some would say during a podcast record is probably the best time, but second best time is just beforehand. I would say Windows has a real
Beats
knack
by a
for
hair.
updating at the worst possible time. So it does the worst possible time. I turned on my computer for this record tonight. Bang! There you go. How did I get? Did I get the? Haven't had this computer on in weeks, so it's like massive as well.
Grim.
One flex.
I don't even know who the head of Microsoft is. Is it Booty? Matt Booty? Cut it out, mate. Sort it out.
Anyway,
don't
before
even
this
know.
becomes a mad Windows bashing session, love it. What are we doing? Who are we? Do you wanna run through the basics? I suppose.
No, I did not.
Good.
Well, we already know.
Podcast. Thanks for listening.
You already know who we are, okay? We already know. We've done the introductions, okay? This is High Scores, High Stakes. So it is the podcast, the only gaming podcast on the internet. I mean,
Please don't Google that.
yeah, actually,
Does
unsubstantiated.
anyone fact check this podcast? I don't think so.
And we're not going to do it. We don't research anything in this podcast, and we're not going to start with that one. Right. Before this descends into madness, let's just move on with it. Cardinal, tell me, what have you been playing this week, mate?
I have been playing what I've been playing. It's called Logwarts Heresy,
Ooh.
and
Oh,
it's it's a game where you are a wizard or witch in a world of Logwarts, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I'd like to say again, I have my broom,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not owned the game for very long. That's a specific call out to Sherry and a reference to most of our first season.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. How far are you in it? Out of curiosity, without spoilers.
I've set fire to a lot of spiders.
Okay. Yeah. They deserve
What
that.
about in the game though?
Oh right, yeah. Sorry, we're talking about game. I can't remember exactly because there are so many quests. I remember Sherry talking about there's so many side quests, and I do just walk around Hogwarts, and there'll be some student that said, "Hey, can you help me find a butterfly that goes into a picture frame?"
Yeah.
Sure. And then you do it once, and there's like, yeah, find all 400 of these to
Oh wow.
complete it.
No, I don't think I will. And just for the record, if any members of PETA are listening, the spider burden was purely a joke. There have been no spiders nor any other animals hurt in the making or production of this podcast. So Hogwarts Legacy, and you've been saving the butterfly or the moths, whatever it might be. Yeah, I started doing that. Some wee doll was like, "Oh, help me," and I was like, "What? No." If I have time, she want me to get like her.
Cadaver.
She wanted me to get like her poo smelling marbles back or something. No.
Oh
I
yeah,
won't.
yeah. It was like
Won't be doing that.
something awful like that. It, the player loses the
So
marbles game
confused.
and they stink the place out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Anyway.
think I won't be fighting them anytime soon. I'll tell you that much. Have you been playing anything other than Hogwarts, or is that it, man?
I have. I actually have been playing OpenTDD, which is a very newly released game on the PC. It's a 43 megabyte free to play download on Steam.
What is it?
It's a
Never heard of it.
transport simulator simulator.
it is.
I said it's very new because it's not very new at all. It was released in 2004, and it's a business transport simulation game. It's highly exciting. I think Tomahawk specifically would really love it, given that he's trying to hold back a yawn while I discuss it.
He's
No,
he's
it's-
into his logistics, so he is.
You are connecting trains to and industries between towns, deliver a meal, creating industries, whatever.
And did you say it was
Watching time tick by.
43
Free.
megabytes?
It is like SimCity 2000,
Okay,
right?
right.
It is old, tiny, and works amazingly
Holy.
well.
Okay. Okay.
I'd
I don't think I'll
rather-
ever be trying that.
Yeah, I'd
I was
rather
gonna
watch
ask
that
what the game was.
4-hour movie of paint drying.
Mm.
That's what I'd rather be
Yeah.
doing than play that.
Yeah. I was going to say, what's that game called? But then I realized I'm not interested, and I don't think anyone listening to this is going to be interested. That's not a game. It sounds like work. It sounds like work.
It's work.
Cardinal. They've tricked you into working for their business. You have been moving the
Let's
timber
run a
around
logistics
the
company.
continental US.
I want
For free.
to hear something exciting then from Tomahawk.
Right.
Tomahawk's going to give us something
so
exciting. I can feel it.
I've been going
Apparently a
through
game.
a game of some description. Horizon Forbidden West. I started playing that a couple of days ago, and if I'm honest, I'm not vibing on it. Really, I think me and Luvva were discussing this just pre-record there. It just doesn't. Maybe I think it's the same way the first Horizon game played out. It just was a bit slow going. I kind of don't care about Aloy as a character, but there's tiny bits of the story of part 2 that's kind of making me not delete the game. So this will be a slow burner, I think, going forward. I can't just quit it. I feel as if I have to see it through, to be honest.
I'm not going to lie, there's some terrible, terrible takes in this podcast already. We're about 3 minutes deep, and terrible take after terrible take. Cardinal, tell me more about this logistics simulator. No, I'm joking. Please don't, Cardinal. Please don't.
Please don't do anything.
Please stop. So yeah, so you're not enjoying it, but you're not going to stop playing it.
I feel as
Sony
if I'm-
have you, mate.
I'm not a quitter. That's the best way I can think about it. But it's not a game I'm massively enjoying right now. But it is very, very early doors. I mean, I think only like an hour and a half into the main story.
Okay.
But I don't think I'll be doing anything beyond the main story. It's going to be
Story.
exactly no side quest, no nonsense.
See, that's the way I'm treating all my games. And I see if it's open world, I'm like, no. See side quests?
Yeah.
Nah, not a chance. As soon as I see optional, like, yeah, it's a no. Hide from map.
So that's it. No, it's very. I think I'm nearly suffering from the map's too big. There's nearly too much to get done, and the distance between objectives is sickening.
There's mounts in this one.
This
There's
is
is,
why
walk by and
I
stuff.
never. This is why I never played Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2.
You're missing out on Red
'Cause-
Dead Redemption 2.
you're
No,
missing
I'm
it
not.
big time
I'm
there.
not.
Mhm.
No, I'm playing transport logistics simulators and I'm having fun and I'm getting enjoyment out of it. If I want to like trek a horse across 300 miles of wilderness and maybe get shot at and attacked by a wild lynx, I don't enjoy that.
So be it.
I
mean-
just want to throw another bad take out there.
It's a terrible take.
People get-
Hi, welcome to High Scores Bad Takes. I'm your host, Mr. Love. I'm going to save this podcast single-handedly, boys. Okay, I'm going to single-handedly save this. I'm going to bring excitement and good games. I have been playing Hogwarts Legacy. I'm a wee bit further ahead than Cardinal is. A little bit further ahead. I'm at the main crux of the storyline, I would say.
Okay.
The
And
main
I've-
horcrux of the storyline.
Away.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a joke.
It's very good. I still haven't. I mean, I have the talent of cursing and stuff, but I can't actually cast curses. So, where's the point? I just want to go around Avada Kedavra and
Um,
everything. See if they ask me to pick up like their smelly marbles. No, no. I'll go on a spree. I don't care. I have also been playing Halo Reach. Now, you may remember last week we were talking about trying to get that Microsoft money. This is my cards on the
This
table.
is your reach.
Cards on the table. Halo Reach is still a 10 out of 10. It is
Nice.
incredible. It's still a 10 out of 10. It runs brilliant on the Steam Deck, and I'm playing through it just fine. Brilliant game. I will say, however, I am
You said it.
9 chapters into Halo Reach, and I have unlocked precisely 2 chapter achievements for Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 because it's bugged.
Fantastic.
It's bugged.
Oh,
So I was like,
thought it's
maybe there isn't.
because of your skill.
I was just like, maybe there isn't chapter achievements. Maybe they've removed them. But no, all the achievements are in the list and they just don't pop. They just don't pop. So they don't. I actually unlock Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 at the same time once I completed Chapter 9. And I also got like a load of other like incidental ones, like kill 5 enemies with 1 grenade and stuff like that. But yeah, I've replayed Chapter 1 to see if it would pop.
No,
Nope.
just broke.
It's broke. So
Oh dear.
Microsoft want to throw some of that money over our way. A wee bit of change from the Activision Blizzard deal. I will edit that comment out and say it's a fantastic game. Flawless.
Didn't we start the podcast asking the Microsoft CEO to sort out Windows?
Yes, that's just business advice between friends. I'll edit that out too, Matt Biddy, if that's what you want. Just throw the wee check over there. High scores, high stakes.
Yeah, you edit over my book. What a great guy. Absolutely fantastic.
Great work, Microsoft. And that's really it.
Wow, this feature of Microsoft works great.
Flawless.
This is incredible. I'm so
You're
glad I'm
still
an
loving
Apple
the
user.
Steam Deck then, huh?
I made the Steam Deck's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic piece of kit. Buy one. Valve, if you want to send me money.
We're after it
Oh
all.
dear.
High scores,
High scores, high plugs.
Right.
Bad text by high plugs.
High stakes, no morals. I'll say whatever you want me to say for the right price. Not a problem. Not a problem.
This is the best part to point out we have 0 sponsors, so it's going well.
All the opinions you hear in this podcast are freely made, freely given.
Freely
but anyway,
ignored.
Speaking of ignoring things, shall we get into what we're going to be talking about this episode?
I guess there.
I think so.
Right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull back the curtain on podcasting content creation, and we're going to let you in a wee bit of the secrets about what went into High Scores, High Stakes Season 1. And then we'll break down each episode, and we'll talk about what happened, what went well, what didn't go well, what we've learned, and how we've grown. I don't know how to put that more succinctly other than it's a wee retrospective of Season 1. I think that does the job just lovely. A wee retrospective of Season 1, episode by episode. We were hoping to have the full quartet here, but Sherry still missing.
Find Sherry. Hashtag find Sherry.
Hashtag find Sherry. Take photos of random locations wherever you might be and see if Sherry's in the photo. He might be. He might not be. We haven't seen Sherry in a month now. Over a month? Over 2 months?
Easily about 2 months coming, I would say now.
Sherry, we've said it every week. Please come home. We miss you. We need your dulcet tones, and we need your insight. And also, the boys from next door challenging me to a game of Call of Duty 2v2 on Rust, and I need your help.
Although, on the flip side about that, it's been 8 weeks since he has mentioned Riders Republic, and I've never been happier. So, swings and I suppose.
Now that it's safe to say so, I deleted Riders Republic after about an hour playing it. Dreadful. Dreadful game. Ubisoft, you want to change that a bit?
Oh dear. Right, let's
get
move on. We do the next
let's get stuck into the retrospective. So basically, we're going to be covering from Crash Bandicoot to The Last of Us.
Bingo.
And we'll be talking no more about anything that happens after The Last of Us. So, without any further ado, let's get into episode 1. episode 1, Crash Bandicoot, the speed run in Insanity Beach, our first ever challenge.
Remember it
Tomahawk
well.
talked to me about it, mate.
Ah, it was we started doing this. I'm trying to think. When did we do the first episode? Like 6 months ago.
February. Yeah.
February. We also
Mhm.
recorded. I say recorded. We actually uploaded our challenge attempts. I'm pretty sure in 2021 as well. So
I
that's
checked this. I
yeah.
checked it because I was curious because the idea for this thing was going on for literally years. I know people thought we were joking when we said it was 2 years in the making. It was 2 years in the making. I uploaded the Crash Bandicoot run that we used in episode 1, the 12th of January, 21. That's when I
Mental.
uploaded it to YouTube. So 2 full years.
I don't think I was too far behind. Again, I may have, when we knew that we were actually having a start date, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
maybe I should try and chip away at this. And, you shave a couple of milliseconds off and you don't make much of a difference, really. But yeah, 2 years having to wait for episode. I think casting was for casting and hiring was the main holdback, I think.
Yes. There was a lot of holdbacks because I think I went through. Obviously, we have a group chat for the podcast with me, you, Cardinal, and Sherry. I sort of scroll through it, just going back through files and pictures we've shared, and just going back through them. Like the amount of like logo
Oh,
changes
options, yeah.
that we went through is crazy. So it is crazy. So us three were pretty much set in stone from 2021. It was going to
Oh
be
dear.
us three and nothing else. Um,
Yeah.
so it was, but yeah, I was going through the logos. Like, I don't know if you remember, there was the one that was like an oval, and the podcast was actually called Low Scores, Low Stakes.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah, but the
That's
whole
right, it
name was
was.
different.
So
Set
yeah,
that stall out early.
yeah. So there was so many name changes. So I was going through my podcast folder, my PC. There was low scores, low stakes, high scores, low stakes, low scores, high stakes, and then finally we arrived on high scores, high stakes.
I think purely for the fact that we just couldn't be bothered arguing anymore about it. We were just like,
Yeah,
hi,
just pick one.
hi, that'll do.
Yeah, I think the consensus was it's video games. High scores is a term synonymous with video games. That it just makes sense to have high scores. So high scores, high stakes just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how we landed on that. And then once, as you said, we all uploaded our runs 2 years ago, faffed about with like graphics and sort of formatting and stuff, and then I don't remember, but I just think we just did
I think
nothing
one day we just
with it.
we held on to everything and basically just went, oh, we'll get to it eventually. Life's happening with a lot of us
Hmm.
and a lot of things going on, really. So we did just put it on the back burner, set up the group chat,
I
set
did
up all
have a
the
baby.
logos.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had a baby too.
well, so did I. I had a wee one about a week after
No,
I
no,
uploaded
you
Crash
don't get
Bandicoot.
enjoyed that. You have babies
Oh
all
no, I
the
didn't. It was
time.
the year
You don't
before.
get.
The year before. It's the year before.
You don't get to jump on this baby bandwagon, lover.
So you two had babies, so it's your fault.
You
Is what we're
can't
hearing
have
here.
like 7 babies and then declare like having a baby some sort of novelty.
Can we not?
No.
But yeah, Cardinal, what do you remember about the pre-episode 1 days of
The
High
early
Score High
years.
Stakes, the podcast?
I do remember we did get on a PlayStation chat at one stage and we were talking about or doing Crash Bandicoot. I can't quite remember, but it was 2021. The world was a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember Crash Bandicoot speedrunning being just as annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
What
yeah.
I do remember is coming back to Crash Bandicoot to try and set a fast time. I had no idea how I set the times I did back in
Yeah.
2021 because I was trying it again and it
It
was
was
like
lockdown. That's
5
exactly what it
seconds
was.
slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The winter lockdown, the horrible one, the
That's
really
right.
horrible one. But yeah, I'm the same. When it came to actually putting a run for episode 1, I couldn't. couldn't get near that time. I think we talked about this in the episode where we was like, oh, we couldn't get near it. I don't know how I did it. And for episode 1, because because I'm so competitive, I was like, well, I'm not putting a worse time up. And I went in a hunt to find the raw file for that YouTube upload. Couldn't find it. Had to play my run full screen on YouTube and screen record it for the podcast. And that's how I got that run.
That's
for
commitment.
The podcast.
That is absolutely commitment.
I was like, well, I'm not putting a slower run. I'm not putting a worse run up. Not a hope. I want to win this thing. I want to win this thing. And then I do remember going, we need to do something with it. We need to get this going. And let's just get it going. And I think it was you, Tom. It was like, right, we'll just put it. Well, what about like February? And you come up with a timetable of like episodes and stuff.
I just made a schedule and went, right, this is if we stick to this as best as we can just get it out. I feel as if we just needed to jump in and get the ball rolling, basically.
And then I was like, I think as a consensus, I think, wait, is 3 enough? And then we put the call in out. And then Sherry was like, I'll do it.
I'll step up.
And Sherry was a really late addition. I think he agreed to do it maybe about a week or 2 before we recorded episode 1. So when Sherry says like he had no time for Crash Bandicoot, he had no time for Crash Bandicoot.
No,
we literally had 2 years on him. So he did, and I think he left it until
the day off.
The Sunday, I think he said.
The deadline that we had given, and he still, I think he was 10 minutes over, and he was just like, oh, I still haven't done a run.
Yeah. Which is actually a really good point. In those early days, we were like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to record on this day. So your run has to be done by this time on this date. And for the first few weeks, we were really strict on your runs have to be submitted by this time. And I think for for the single player, everything in season 1, we did kind of stick to that, didn't we?
For the single player.
For the single player ones.
Like single player games, definitely, we were very good at adhering to timetables. I think when it became pairs, asymmetric, or even just like 1v1,
full on free for all,
became a nightmare. But we'll get to that.
That is the difficulty of it. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot 1. I have went through all of our episodes today, so I have, and I have went through league tables for at the end of every episode, including point changes. Joys. And it's been great fun. It's been great fun. So it has been. Oh, before we go on to that, yes, one thing I want to mention is the intro to Crash Bandicoot. So the intro to that episode was totally scripted. I scripted it and then listened back on it. It is horrific sounding. It was like one of those ones is like, oh yeah, that sounds horrible. I'm never doing that again. And since that, I don't think there's been a single
scripted an episode since,
Never. And it was just one of those things. I think it's the safety blanket. I think it was the first time we've ever done this.
That's it. A lot of us, it's kind of you've streamed before.
Yeah, I love a streamed, YouTubed, but not podcasting. It's a different beast because
different.
There's multiple people here that can talk.
And there
has to be some kind of agenda to discuss.
Yes. Since then, we do tend to have little bullet points, and we have a form. We came up with a format. The format was a tough one to come up with. How are we going to work this? How are we going to stop talking over one another? And it's all those things like that. And it's been a real learning curve. Like Crash Bandicoot, looking back at it, is actually a really good episode. If you skip the first 5 minutes of me reading from a Word document on my screen, I actually really like that episode. I think it's like, at its core, it's one of the closest episodes to what I wanted. I want this podcast to be
close to the original blueprint.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I will point out though, I don't know if you have noticed watching it back, especially like when we do all the highlight reel stuff as well, that episode 1 is the first and only episode that we sat, someone else was talking, everyone muted their mics, whereas 13, 14 episodes down the line, it is a manic free-for-all, and we just lay waste to everyone's conversation.
Yes, I noticed that as well because it's complete silence when someone's talking, and it's strange sounding, especially.
Can can I just stop here a second? The revelation that Luvva went and recorded his old footage to use the time.
Yeah.
I've just gone into my own YouTube history and found a video from early 2021 that is my faster time, and it is almost 3 seconds quicker than the video at the time I made for the episode 1.
Oh,
And I
good
could have
grief.
just
To
used
be
that footage.
to be fair to you, if you had to find that video at the start of episode 1, you would have. I think you got 1 point in that episode.
Yeah.
If you had had that 3
Yeah.
second faster time, you would have ended that episode with 1 point.
1.26 seconds. Yeah,
Uh,
you guys were still faster.
But yeah, it is. It's funny. I was sitting watching that episode back, and I was laughing. I was like, "God, that opening." Ugh. But yes, as I was saying, I also went through the videos and collated all of our league tables just to see if there's any like trends or anything like that. There are trends, and
Like-
so episode 1, if you don't remember, Tom won. I came second, Cardinal came third, Sherry came last. And it was the first week of many. Sherry picked up 0 points. So yeah, Tom was top of the leaderboard. At the end of the episode, Tom was top of the leaderboard with 3. I was sitting with 2. Cardinal, you were sitting on 1. And it was pretty much from then, it was game on. Like, that really did break the back of the podcast. And I don't know about you guys, but I found episodes were really hard to record because I streamed and stuff, but when you're streaming, you have the benefit of your audience is there. I know they're only text, and they sort of like direct you where to like bring your conversation and stuff. So I know you guys are here and stuff, but we do have an agenda and we do have things we need to hit on, and just sort of self-directing. I find really difficult. What was the most difficult thing for you to episode 1?
I think just having the
You
conversation
know what, just-
alone, yeah.
Having the conversation, but having the conversation on Discord and trying to muck about with sharing a video on Discord and have us all watch it.
Exactly that, yes.
Yep. Yes, thank you for saying that because I actually didn't even mention that. The first couple of episodes, obviously, what we do, we're on Discord. So we use Discord to record the video, and we use obviously different apps for recording our audio and stuff like that. But in episode 1, episode 2, obviously I'm recording my screen. Sherry records his screen just in case something goes wrong. But we don't enlarge. I don't enlarge the YouTube video player because I don't realize you can do that. And I think it's after episode 2 when Cardinal says to me, "Here, do you know that you can make that bigger?" And also, I think for the first 2 episodes, I don't close the YouTube player after it either. So our windows are really, really tiny.
Yeah,
or like the
we're
rest
just left
of
with little thumbnails of the videos to follow. Yeah, it's such a funny one because it's a new format and we're kind of figuring it out as we go, definitely. But it's all part of the learning curve.
It's so funny when
it's funny to watch back. Yeah,
it really is. Just like, oh, look at those little, like we're already this is what, episode 18, 17, 18?
17, yeah.
And like how we record this has changed dramatically from what it was episode 1. I think we've gotten better.
I think that was hugely important though, because we went into that and we didn't really know. We had a script and everything, and we knew what we were going to use Discord and all this. You're recording your screen, and we learned a lot from that on episode 2, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
really,
and
really
because of that, we could do this right now and blast this out and have our audio sounding much better.
Yeah,
but even the equipment we have has changed.
Oh God, yeah. No,
Yes.
absolutely. But even
that thing
1.
sitting in front of Luvva's face.
Yep, and the Tomahawks.
Exactly, that's right.
As well, yeah, we've all sort
Can
of.
I just say, Tomahawks looks huge from the camera perspective. It's an absolute mammoth.
But that's
But
it
yes,
though. This is one of
I'm
those
talking
funny
about
things.
the microphone.
You have to let episode one kind of play its course. All bumps and sores and all. Like
mhm.
it's the only way you're going to learn. Really, it's never going to be perfect. So
Yeah,
it has
and
to be
that's the
put out.
thing. That's the thing. That's the thing with this is like when you're streaming. Like when I streamed, I had loads of disasters. Like there was plenty of streams where I forgot to unmute my mic, and with Twitch as well, it's really hard. Some people will tell you, "Oh, unmute your mic," and there's nothing wrong with it.
Aye.
So there's times where you have to like, "Oh, what?" But because it's live, you don't mind. But because this is recorded, a part of me is like, oh, "This needs to be perfect. This needs to be perfect from day one." But it's not, and it's never going to be. And just
Yeah.
coming to terms with this isn't perfect, but it will get better, and it will get better incrementally. It's not going to be overnight perfect, and it's
Exactly. Yeah.
not overnight perfect because episode 2 we'll get straight into episode 2, the episode we don't talk about. So episode 2, like a surgeon sim, is the episode we always joke about amongst ourselves, is the one we don't talk about. Episode
Just
2, top to bottom, top to bottom, was a nightmare.
disaster.
It was a disaster from start to finish.
I genuinely thought it was going to be the episode that killed us in the crib. Really, just
I honestly thought that episode was going to kill me because that was one of those episodes we recorded early in the week, and when the editing began. So at the start of this, I think I edited episodes 1, 2, and 3, didn't
Yeah.
I?
I would say so.
And
Yeah.
I agree with that.
episode 2 honestly near killed me. I think I started editing I think we recorded that one on the Monday. And I think I started editing it on the Wednesday, and then realized that something had went very, very wrong with the recording. So basically what happened was when I played it back, when I'm narrating my playthrough, I had no audio. So I was sitting watching this going, why did the guys not say they can't hear me? Why are they just letting me talk for I think it's 7 minutes. I think it's
Yeah,
7 full minutes. And then I'm like, jump onto our chat going, here, could you guys hear me the other day when we were recording? You're like, yeah, fine. And then I was like, okay, well, I have no audio. And it was just me. It was just me. I could hear you guys perfectly fine. So that's when I went to Sherry. I was like, here, can I have your recording? Can you check your recording? Can you hear me? He's like, oh, yeah, I can hear you just fine. I was like, throw me your recording. And yes, he could hear me, but it's the audio you hear in the recording. It's tinny, it's echoey. And I think I spent like a full day in Audacity trying to scrub that and trying to clean it and try to get it sounding better. And believe it or not, I did, but it's still an absolute travesty to the human ear canal. But yeah, that was the
it
first
was
of
just
many
awful.
disasters.
Yeah.
So
But I think it's nice that we got the disaster out early. And we were able to go into episode 3, kind of just, we knew what to avoid, we knew the problem was, and we could it was a fresh start, essentially.
yes, like, well, it can't be worse.
Yeah.
Can't be worse. But one thing that did come out of that was the flame that was Tomahawk's Instagram memes, because they, for me, started the real take off. We have this meme here, which is hard to see, but it's love it during recording, love it during editing.
Yeah.
We were able
That's
to
why I
see
decided to follow.
Yeah. We were able to
Yeah.
see the funny side of it all, to be fair. His descent into madness was so fun. But we can look back and laugh at least anyway.
Yeah,
But
it was
the problem. The one problem I do have as well is because, yes, the episode's riddled with problems, audio, visually, whatever you want to put to it, not putting YouTube on full screen. It has the potential.
The YouTube not being in full screen
YouTube
is amazing to look back on, because 2/3 of the screen is suggested videos or trending videos on YouTube that have nothing to do with the podcast
so good.
we're watching.
But
I
like
love it.
even the premise, even the episode, the challenge, the actual like chat, and we did everything we did. Aside from everything terrible and everything took taken a lifetime to fix, it should have been a great episode, and it should have been a really good benchmark for the rest of the series. But I say this
Yeah,
on
but
chat
yeah,
plenty of times. We should do it as a bonus episode or a future episode that we just
Yeah.
remaster it. We'll say we do a
Like,
Surgeon Sim remastered.
yeah, that's the worst part of it is because I think, especially the first 5 episodes, maybe it is one of our better episodes. It just looks and sounds horrific. So it does, and in hindsight, I mean, when it happened, we were like, "Ah, sure, we can just. Why don't we just re-record it? Just re-record your section again, like it was live." And then we were, none of us liked that idea, but it was an option open to us because of the joy of editing and stuff. But if anyone ever says that the reactions to us watching the videos aren't legitimate and they aren't like, just watch episode 2.
Yeah,
Because we
because it
could
was
have
the
we could
first.
have re-recorded it and no one would be none
yeah.
the wiser. But we decided as a group, like, no, we'll just take it on the chin and learn from this.
Yeah. Plus, it
In
helped as well
terms of
because the reactions were live as well. Sorry, I'm interrupting there, but our reactions were live and genuine. You nearly lose that bit of a charm on it.
You,
That's
you,
the only
you
thing.
definitely do. You definitely do. Because I think one of the pieces of feedback we got from episode 1. So episode 1, we go through who came last, who came third, who came second, who came first. And a couple of pieces of feedback from people who watched it was like, I don't like that because there's no surprise. So when it came to Surgeon Sim, we had a deadline time, but then we had to upload it at the very last minute. So we hadn't seen each other's runs until we were watching it on the podcast, and that was part of the reason we went, no, we won't re-record it. We'll just try to clean it up a bit. Do you remember the other disaster in that episode? The meme. The meme. Do you remember this? No.
No.
So
the
once I
meme,
get the sound cleaned up, uh, I edited the episode, but it wouldn't render. Do you remember this? It would like randomly
Yes,
black
just
screen.
crashed.
Do you remember this? And it would just
oh,
randomly
do.
black screen.
you're
I remember that episode. I had the audio fixed by Thursday. The Friday, I spent all day editing the episode and then tried to render it, and it wouldn't render because it would just at random points. It would just go scream and go black, and you would get no
Yep.
sound, no nothing. And I was sort of like the software I was like looking through Google, like trying to figure out what's going on here. And of course, Google being Google, you get like a million different solutions, but none of them work. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. And I was like tearing my hair out. Cardinal, you were like, I just send me your edit file and I'll see if it works on mine. And it didn't.
it did not.
And just trying to brute force my computer to render this thing. And then that's when I got to the solution to it. So after I brute forced my computer to render it, that's when I decided to open it. I don't know why, but I opened my computer and then that's when I realized that one of my sticks of RAM had absolutely fried
That's
during the
right.
record. And that's what was causing all the issues. So I had to replace my RAM. I went from 16 gigs to 32. Beautiful.
Crazy.
Which is absolutely massive. And think about the processing power you could use for grand strategy games with all that RAM.
No. But yes, episode 2 it's the episode we
Historic.
don't it's the one that we don't talk about, but it's definitely the most memorable for me because I was ripping my hair out
That's
that
it.
whole weekend and it was rendered really
You-
late on. It was like a few hours before it had to go live. I was like, I finally did it. It's finally done. Because I remember having to do like the start of it, render the start, render the middle, render the last third, all separately, and then simplify it all down and then put it all together. And that's how I rendered it in the end. I made 3 podcasts on a Sunday.
Crazy.
And I thought it was going to kill me. I thought Mrs. Luvva was going to kill me because there was a lot of time spent swearing at my computer that weekend.
I think this is at this point where me and
Where's
Cardinal were
Daddy
very
gone all
much
weekend?
we very much
Yeah.
decided to jump in on the editing process.
Yeah,
Share
that was
the
when
love that way.
the idea. Let's share the load. But for the next episode, I was like, no, I want to make sure this is fixed
Yeah.
because I don't want to go through this again.
Haha.
It
And it
just turned out
wasn't.
my editing software was awful.
In terms of content, I just want to touch on this was the first episode. We had the speed run, which I think is fantastic, and I think we will revisit for season 2.
The
Second episode, we had 2 different sets of points being dished
That's
out.
right. Yes, it was
That's
a double
right, yeah.
One for the
double points.
one for the fastest time, and then the other set of points for the lowest blood. Was it? Lowest blood
The
loss?
Yeah,
cleanest
blood loss
surgery,
and time. Yeah. Yeah.
Precision and speed, right? Something like that.
And I think that was the first of the classic Love last minute rule changes, wasn't it? That was like, oh, let's do double points.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sort of originally said who could do the fastest surgery, and I think I remembered that it's on 2. The game judges you on 2 metrics anyway.
Yeah.
So we were just like, let's just add it in, sure, and
Double game week.
exactly.
Those rule changes will not come back to bite any one of us
No,
in
not
the
at all.
behind at any stage of this season 1, not at all. But let's get to the points in that episode. So at the end of week 2, I was top of the league. So that was my first time top of the league. I had 7 points because I picked up 5 points that episode, 3 for the fastest surgery, and I was the second cleanest surgery. Tom, you wound up second with 6 points, and you picked up 3 points. And Cardinal finished up with 5 points, so he got 4. So you were the cleanest surgery and third fastest.
Yeah.
And Sherry ended up with nothing.
He was close to a DNF, if I remember, because I did think we had also said that 10 minutes would be the cap, just because we were just because we were conscious of how long an episode could run for.
Yeah, I remember that episode. There was, I think, his time or his blood loss and your blood loss wasn't separated by
Tight.
that much.
It was
a
very
few.
tight.
It was like maybe 10 seconds, but it was really, really close. Which brings us on to Sherry. Looked like he was down and out. I think we said that, and then Sherry's like, "Well, I'll come back. Don't you worry about it." Which brings us on nice and neatly to episode 3. Cod Supper. Episode 3.
Oh goodness.
Episode 3 was the now infamous COD episode. This is the one where we start getting a wee bit more flamboyant with our editing, and we start trying things. Try to do things a wee bit different. It's the first episode I realized you can make the YouTube video bigger than the postage stamp that it was.
Right.
And I also remember taking all 4 of our raw footage from that and blend it together to try to get it to sync into one video. So if you remember, that was the first
say
video.
All 4.
I say all 4.
Oh, sorry. Yes, this is also this is the week that my PS4 died. So
it was.
So I was gonna dabble into Twitch streaming and kind of going down that avenue. Hooked everything up to the capture card, hooked everything up to HDMI splitters, and it fried my visual output on the PS4. So
Rest in pieces, Tomahawk's PS4.
So I had to borrow my brother-in-law's for the remainder of season 1 and majority of the off season.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of forgot that once you set the console up new account and all that kind of stuff, you'll have to do all the tutorial bits for everything. That includes Share Factory and screen sharing. So I just, hit the go thing on it, and because it automatically does 60 minutes, so I just that's already done. That's automatically problem, and then went to double tap to finish, and I got the warning light to go, "Oh, nothing recorded." Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I will never forget the discussions after that. Like, I can just do
a random game,
Crash Bandicoot, and put that in my quadrant. We were like, no, you've messed up, and we're going to let the world know you messed up. And that's where the little I didn't record my gameplay because I'm an idiot. The little quadrant
constant reminder. Like, I think I have that on a T-shirt.
That was a blinder. But yeah, this is the what was it on?
Fun game. And
did.
Shipment?
Gun Game and Shipment, yeah.
Yeah, and
Shipment.
it was
Best
a
of
rude
3.
awakening into the skill
How
set of
good
Mr. John
Sherry is.
Sherry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me by surprise how good he is.
Sherry let rip on us. He was 5 points behind third on 0 after 2 episodes, and he completely schooled us in COD.
Absolutely,
Decimated.
absolutely,
I
absolutely
think
did.
we realized early on we were all playing for second. We knew that Sherry was going to walk away with it
Mhm.
anyway. We knew FPSs are just his bread and butter, really.
Yeah.
So we knew that second, third, fourth was basically what we were looking for.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised with the end results.
See, I've made a note of
Really?
that. Is obviously I'd edited everything together, but all I did was like sync the start of every round, and then that was it. I didn't like
Yeah.
pay any attention to the scoreboards or whatever. So when you came second, we were like, I was like, what?
How has that happened? Yeah.
Because me and you were
We
were
were
me and
neck and
you
neck for last.
tying. Yeah, the first
Tying
two
for
games I
last.
think we were tied, and then that third round you went absolute boogaloo. Like,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Tomahawk learned how to do stuff
Had a
and
point and
ran
shoot.
with it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But
I
this
actually have
episode,
my old spreadsheet, and I've got each
ooh,
scores from each round.
go on ahead.
I remember going ahead. Let's see. Tomahawk and Luvva were on 10 kills
Yeah,
to Sherry's 28 in round one. The next round, Tomahawk and Luvva were at 18 to Sherry's 30. And
that's
then
that's pretty
last
good.
round, Tomahawk decides to suddenly
Show
hit
up.
at 21,
Yeah, I think I hit 11 or something, 9 maybe.
9. Yeah.
Bad.
Oh
And
wait.
it's just,
But that was it though. Like Cardinal, you had second in the bag, essentially. Like
yes,
it but there we are. That's
Yeah, that's them's the rules. That's the way Call of Duty goes.
pipped me by three kills over 3
mad.
rounds. Still fuming.
It was that early doors in the series as well, because it's a bit of crack, it's a bit of banter, just
Mhm.
what high scores, high stakes is and is becoming, I suppose. But at this point, I was like going, I'm ever present in the top 2 anyway. If we can, maybe it's just keeping momentum. Really,
Yeah.
I felt confident going into like a third of the way into that season. You know, we had 6 or 7 more challenges at this point. I thought I could, I'm well within a shout to this at this point, really.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have been because, well, okay, I'm not, Lovey, you can tell us what the leaderboard looked at
Yeah.
that stage.
Yeah. So the leaderboard was as it had been. There's been very little movement in the leaderboard. So Tom was first with 8 points because he picked up 2. I was second with 7. Cardinal was third with 6 because he picked up the single point. And then Sherry all of a sudden has 3 on the board.
Just off the
So
back,
yeah,
yeah.
5 points between first and last, really, at this stage of the game. And it is, as you said, like at that point, it was like this is all about constantly picking up. You need to pick up points every single week because all of a sudden, if you don't, the the people behind you, because it only has 4 of us, the people behind you have closed the gap, and
Yeah.
oftentimes it's significant. I mean, Cardinal picking up the single point on that one, put him a point behind me, and it was at that point. It's like, okay, that you have to pick up
You
points
have
every
to be
single week.
hitting. You have to be hitting first or second, really. Third each week. Early doors was not doing any favors for anybody, really.
You say that
Yeah.
Well,
week 1, week 2, week 3, Cardinals come third.
yeah.
So he
And
has.
then 1 point behind Luvva. The thing is, you two took points off each other. You're
Yep,
still
that's it.
going
We
ahead,
yo-yoed.
but
We did yo-yo for a long time, to be
But
fair.
we are hampering each other because of the yeah. I think this week as well was another bit of a nightmare for us. Well, for me, because I was editing it and I still had that black screen error happening an awful lot. I don't know if you remember, but I had edited the video and I was like, do not know what we're going to do. I'm just going to edit the video separately and then play it on top. So we'll put it on top of our chat. Remember this?
I remember
And
that
then
idea came up, yeah.
And then that's why I did that episode. And then when I listened to it back after it went live, I realized that at certain points of our gameplay, we'd asked for it to be paused. So the gameplay ended, honestly, about 10 minutes before us chatting about the gameplay ended. So I had to
Go back,
re-edit.
basically, yeah.
I had to re-render the video and then upload it again before anyone
Dear.
noticed.
Oof.
Um,
goodness.
and no one's ever brought it
No
up,
one's
so
ever
I don't think
noticed.
anyone
No,
noticed. I
it's
think we got away with it. I think we got away with it. No one will ever know.
Secret troubles.
No one will ever know. But yeah, three game weeks in, I think it's taken shape. I think that's definitely the most polished of the 3 episodes so
it was
far.
we'd found our feet a bit. We knew what we were doing. Episode 2, I think we were starting to be confident in with ourselves as well. It wasn't
Yeah.
a case of just mute the mic as we went. We were very much, there was chat and banter developing,
Yeah.
and a good idea of the format and a good idea of who does what and when they need to be speaking, and having grace and presence.
Yes.
Some people might have stopped the podcast at this stage when they realized their computer had fried itself, their PS4 had fried itself.
Mhm.
Maybe some people found out they had a skill issue when it comes to computer games. Episode 3 partly rejuvenated that for some of those aspects, and then
Yep.
RAM got bought, PS4s got borrowed. Sherry finds that he was great at COD in comparison to us.
Yeah. Yep. And I think I think if memory serves me correct, episode 2, I think we changed the rule for grudge chips.
The grudge chip, yes.
The grudge chip. And that's going to come into play pretty soon. But I think our initial idea for the grudge chip in episode 1 was you had to play it at the episode that you felt aggrieved in.
That's it.
Do you remember
yes.
this?
And then
And
it
if you
was,
wanted
once
to
it
play
was done, it was done. Yeah.
Yes, and then we were talking about that in the afterwards, going, actually, does that make much sense? Should we change how the grudge chip works? And we did, obviously, to what we stuck with, where you can play it at any time. If you play it outside the podcasting, you have to do a wee video.
That's it.
And that
it
sort of
was the
stuff.
idea of playing for the points as well. You're playing for the points that you've
feel
lost
aggrieved
out
by.
on. Yeah, exactly.
And if you win, you keep it and stuff like that.
That's it. I think it's a solid format, but again, we're ourselves on this one.
Yes, we are. So shall we get on to the infamous episode number 4?
One,
Please.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't wait.
Episode 4. One of my highlights of season 1.
My personal favorite, yeah.
Easily.
So episode 4 was our cooperative challenge, Back for Blood. Basically, we just had to complete.
Episode. What did we actually call this episode in the end? I feel as if
No mulligan.
No mulligan.
No
mulligan.
problem.
That's right.
So I remember that. What are we going to call this episode? I was like, what about calling it this? Like, what? Everyone's like, what's a mulligan?
Yeah, it's like,
I
what?
think it's the only one we didn't go for a random pop song, because I found it was very difficult to put Back for Blood as a pop song.
Yes, yes, it is. I'm sure there's some death metal song we could have used, but
yeah.
yeah. So this was the one where the challenge was complete a level of Back for Blood on the hardest difficulty, which is called No Mercy, No Hope.
No Hope.
No Mercy,
No
I
Hope.
think. And
No
very
Mercy
quickly
was
after,
a wrestling game in 2000.
yes. Whereas No Hope is the opening level of Left 4 Dead.
That's right.
It's the hospital.
Now, I remember going through this on the production day, and I think I remember because I had got the board game of Jumanji as a Christmas present, and I said to the boys, I said, "Do you all reading the rules? Everyone has to finish the game, or everyone gets no points and is disqualified." So I made this point about saying this about because we were going to do this challenge, and we knew a cooperative challenge was coming up. It's like, well, what if one person dies and everyone gets 0 points for it? And I think, Luvva, your eyes lit up and went, that sounds really terrible. I love it.
Yes. Yes, and this is where we started playing around with everything. Like the way, yes, we had like an outline of what we knew what game we were playing, we knew what the challenge was, but we were like, why not just do whatever we want? because it's our podcast, and who's going to know? All the people here listening to it are going to know is what we put out on the day. So why not have fun with it? But I remember my lingering memory of this one is that first run on the hardest difficulty and getting about
Oh,
6
goodness,
feet into the
golly.
level, and then
Decimated.
the panic of, if we can't do this, we're not going to have an episode.
Yeah.
And I remember we'll drop it to the next difficulty, we get a wee bit further, and then we're like, okay, but we can't have a 3-minute gameplay section. And then we dropped it to the regular difficulty, and then give it a
Changed the
third,
level as
change the
well.
map, change the
Yeah, we
map,
changed
and
the
then
map
went,
Change
as
the
well.
map. Yeah.
let's just do this. But yeah, that was a panic, because at some point, I think it was you, Tom, asked, should we pick a different game? Should we do a different game? Should we do? I think you posited, should we do the Evil Dead, and then spend some time practicing Back for Blood? And we were like, no. No, we'll leave
That's
it.
it.
We'll
I
leave the
think I
run
did
order
try and
as it
no,
is.
it wasn't because I had said about saying but we should all just do Scott Pilgrim because I feel only for the fact that
Yeah.
I think we were naive
Yeah.
at the time how badly Scott Pilgrim's online coding is.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, so I think we just went to persevere Back for Blood, even if it meant we had to do 50 runs to get one workable run.
Yeah, and
But I think
that's. Go ahead.
I think we went into that assuming that because the avid listener will know, we had to all finish the level or nobody got points. So I think that we went into that thinking, oh, we'll finish the mission. That'll be no problem. I don't think we ever really thought that we wouldn't actually finish a level.
Yeah, yeah, and I forgot how brutally hard that game is. It's brutal. Absolutely, it's hard as. Ugh, it's not even fun. It wasn't even. It wasn't so hard. It was fun. It genuinely no fun. That
it
hardest
was
difficulty was
frustrating.
none.
It was frustrating, and it took the joy. It actually took the joy out of the game. Back for Blood. I loved the Left 4 Dead series as well.
Yeah.
I said at the time, but there's cards that give boosts, like big boost to everything in that game. And we hadn't played it, so we didn't
No
have any
idea
of
for
those
it.
boosts.
Yeah.
Sherry maybe had some. Yeah, just that we were at such a disadvantage with our skill. Never mind the boosts.
Yeah. But here, I think the content we got from that more
beautiful.
than made up for everything. It was
You
fantastic.
set the scene.
No. If Luvva, if there was something you had to call out as maybe a key plot moment of season 1 that happened in that episode 4, what would you think that would be?
I would say that the narrative strong point of season 1 was Tomahawk getting incapacitated in Back for Blood, and me making the call not to go back for him. I said it in the episode.
Oh,
It's probably not the best call, especially in a multiplayer challenge where everyone has to finish. But I honestly thought that there was spawn points in, and I thought we were hitting a spawn point, and I thought he would have been pulled back because we would have had a continue. But clearly, we didn't have a continue. I don't know. I don't know how. Like, I could have sworn there was a spawn point. Could have sworn there was a spawn point. Clearly, there wasn't. Do I regret it? Absolutely not, because the content that decision created was amazing.
I remember, still as clear as day, whenever we were all on chat, because I got incapacitated, I'm shooting around me. Yous have all gone to the other side of the ship and are clearing the military checkpoint. I think that's what's next on that part. And I just went, is nobody gonna come back for me? And Luvva just cut through everyone, just went, nope. And that was it. Nothing after that.
That was after Luvva said, "We'll come back for you. We'll pick you up. Don't worry, you'll be coming back into this.
You'll be coming back. You'll be coming back. Yeah."
But I meant that as there's a spawn point here. All we need to do is get you. I didn't. But yeah, it was.
And we did.
Oh,
he didn't come back.
And you didn't come back.
I didn't know what to do. I was literally just sat spectating for the rest of this for this run. It was just so bizarre. I was absolutely livid.
I think It's brilliant. I'm sorry, but it is so funny. Even till now, it's funny.
Oh,
But think of the drama that made. Think just like the drama that made. That single decision led to the only grudge chip being played in season 1. The only one. And I think
Oh, let's see
rightfully
it.
so. Rightfully so did Tomahawk call me out on that. But
I had to like even I know we didn't. I know there was no points doled out that this episode 4 specifically, but no, the good ship had to make an appearance. Really, I felt that I couldn't let that go unchecked. You're
yeah,
letting this
yeah, and
podcast and hosting thing go to your head. I had to take it down a peg. Anyway, or
to be fair, rightfully so. Like if someone did it to me, I would have called them out, and it gave us a good chance to sort of get it in stone how the grudge chip was
that's
going
the
to work.
format. Yeah, it puts the format out there at least anyway. So,
But yeah, I think that one was. I think in the episode you sort of allude to you might call it, and then I remember
I think I went
you.
clear as day. This is grudge chip right now. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah, and I remember when it came to the actual grudge chip, I remember I think you just put a question into our group chat going, how do we do grudge chip? And then that's when you make a video. Sherry was like, "Hey, you need to make a video," and then we threw it into. I think it was episode 6. The end of episode 6,
We
I think,
pushed
is
it.
when
Yeah,
the challenge came in. But yeah, that is just episode 4. I think for we went from at one point not having anything for an episode to having
quite
that
a lot of
drama.
content. Yeah.
Brilliant,
It was
brilliant.
also it was quite a nice episode to have where on the edit side I don't really think that there was that
No,
was
I
a
think
stumbling block really. I mean we'd locked in the quadrants, we'd locked in the synchronization of
mhm.
like the footage and everything. So I think it was more about the content itself and the drama that follows on from it.
Yeah, I think this was the week. I think after episode 2 to episode 3 and my difficulties, I think Cardinal threw his hand up. I think episode 4
Uh-huh.
was Cardinal's first um editing
That was,
session.
yes, that's right.
And
Yes, I suspect it was. Yeah.
and also, if memory serves me correct, another memorable high scores, high stakes moment happened in episode 4. You had me ditching Tom, and you also had how are we going to score this episode because we failed.
We did.
And of course, we
Oh my
had
god,
the
yes.
cardinal number.
The cardinal number featured on the episode 4. You're
Oh, I
absolutely
love
right.
it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
Do you
just
know what? I actually have this on my notes in my phone here, so I'm just gonna read a tiny segment from you here. Uh, we then try and balance the figures, so the likes of kills way too high, we divide them by 10. So that still leaves, why? We'll get there. We never get there. We never get there, Cardinal.
amazing
I think
episode.
I don't even know how, but there was taking some scores, dividing them by 10. There was just leaving some marks as others. There was m- up multiplying by 1.5, dividing by 100,
That's it. Yes, it
and
goes
summing together.
team healing,
And some,
quote, skewed
yeah,
divided by 100.
somehow I end up with John Sherry coming
Yeah,
Getting
out
the
on top.
bonus point.
he got a point. Yeah, so Sherry technically won that challenge. So at the end of that challenge, us 3 get no points. So there's no change. Tom's still top. I'm second. Cardinal's third. 876. Sherry has closed the gap a wee bit further because he had the cardinal number decided he was the most valuable player. So he gets a single point because we thought, well, we need to dole out some points here.
You can't just have
So yeah,
a nil week, yeah.
yeah. So Sherry is fourth on 4, which is 2 points behind Cardinal, just and
Hmm.
4 points between top and bottom at that stage. So he shrank it a wee bit. He goes into a wee bit of a run. I think this might be, from my knowledge, the only time. No, only one of 2 times Sherry picks up points in 2 consecutive weeks.
Oh,
Mm.
Deary, deary.
But yeah, episode 4, honestly, a personal highlight of mine. Just a banger of an episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant for a number of reasons. It was just, yeah, really, really good. It was really good fun. I think we all said it in the episode. Back for Blood, I think will be making a return at some point.
It's a return redemption. I don't know, however, whatever arc we're trying to spin on that there, but it's that co-op element. I think was so much fun because yes, we're competing, but also this is the one time we all had to sort of band together for it. But I'd go back. I'd do it again.
Yeah, I think that is one.
Tomahawk's still leading the way in the scores at this stage.
Yeah, so Tom has been the 4 weeks of the podcast. Tom has been top for 3 weeks. I've been top for 1, and Tom has been leading the way for the previous 2 at the stage of the game. So the league.
I was worried at this stage.
Yeah.
No, I was worried because Sherry had come from a 5-point deficit. He was 2 points behind.
Yeah.
Tom was top all the time, and I knew Luvva was going to be good at a lot of the games that were coming up. And I kind of wondered, where am I going to be in this? Is it the wooden spoon?
To be fair, there's a few games here where I was like, Cardinal's not going to be very good at that. And then things happen.
We're going to get to those in the retrospective.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So yes, so that was episode 4. Love it. I loved episode 4. But episode 5 was our mid-season point. This is where we're going to stop this retrospective. Once we discuss episode 5, we'll pick it up next week. So episode 5 was The Last of Us, and this was our permadeath run, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
Where we had to get as far in the storyline as we could on one life. I think for me, I think this one might be my favorite challenge. It's definitely one of the top ones for me personally. I thought it was brilliant.
Top 2, definitely, in terms of my challenges. I think as well is we tried to be clever with this one. This one because it was around the time HBO had put out the TV show as well. And I don't know if it was just the scheduling or we pushed this episode back to fit because the season finale had aired the record week.
I just remembered another thing about episode 2 that was a disaster. Is I had to leave during recording because the child was being sick, and then I had norovirus for like days after. Episode 2 was awful. It was a horrible time. So you had RAM broken, your PS4 broke. Sherry, I'm sure something happened, Sherry. I was broke. Anyway, sorry. Last of Us. Brilliant time. Yeah. I was scared to play it. I've never played the game before.
You'd never played the game either, or you'd never watched the TV. You hadn't watched any of the TV into this.
I tried to watch the TV show, and we got 17 minutes in and turned it off.
Absolutely insane.
Because I was too spooked.
Incredible scenes. I can't believe in 2023 someone on a predominantly PlayStation podcast has never, and to my knowledge, you've never played it through to completion. Is that still the case?
I tried after doing this episode, and I got to where the first time you meet the zombies and stopped.
Wow. That's incredible.
You need to put like some sort of PG filter onto it then.
Yeah. So for the reason I like this challenge was, one, The Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a game I would, if it's not my most replayed game of all time, it's up there. I've played it through loads. I like to think I'm pretty good at The Last of Us. So I was really excited because I thought, I fancied myself in this challenge. I thought I did think I'll definitely win. I knew that my biggest challenger was going to be Tom. And the reason I knew that was because I knew Sherry was going to do Sherry and not really care. Because Sherry loves.
That's it. That was my thinking. Sherry was, in my head, the biggest competitor because it's his favorite game of all time ever made.
Yeah.
So I figured he was going to be either that. I suppose two sides of that same coin. He's either going to be in it to win it, or he's not going to want to ruin a good thing.
Yep.
He chose the latter.
Yeah, and that's really funny because we said in the episode, so it was like one life, and I remember playing it through because I pumped a lot of time into The Last of Us in the prep for this episode. I think I think it was only really the only game I played for the
It
week
was your
beforehand.
what are we playing segment.
The
It was your
the week
game
before.
for at least 2 weeks easily.
Yeah. Yep. And I put a whole load of hours in, and I remember in the prologue and the 20 years later section, I remember trying to die in both those sections and couldn't achieve it. So
Can't, yeah.
we were like,
Yeah.
don't know what, there's no gameplay there. We'll just pick it up from when you pick up your backpack with Tess.
That's right, yes.
And then Sherry. I died in the escape from the
prologue.
city. It's like, what? And I think I put that into the episode, didn't I? Like
We did, yes. I also
yeah.
found that I also died in the QZ as well, so that
I
they
used
are
that's right. You get shot by
possible
the soldiers.
by the
Yeah.
soldiers in the building. It is possible, but it's so out of your way to do it that it
Yeah.
makes sense just to have done, because getting the backpack is the first time you go beyond the wall, basically,
Yes.
and you encounter the runners and stuff. So I think as a group we did make that collective decision just to go, yeah, skip the first it's easily the first like half hour of the game.
It might even be more. It might
Yeah.
even be more. Like I think if we didn't make that decision to skip those, I wouldn't have put half the amount of time in because it was slow and it was frustrating and there's no gameplay in it at all. Like really, there's no gameplay at it. There's only so many times you can watch Mr. Johnson from next door bust through your French doors. Like
That's it.
but
Though.
yeah, it was one of those games,
Good point.
one of those challenges. It was because obviously we played it on grounded as well, the hardest difficulty, and I was like, no, I'd never played grounded before, and I was like, I'll see how far I can get in this. I think I beat where I got past with saves and stuff. Obviously, I got past where I died, and I think I get to Bill's Town, and I think it's the upside down shit that I can't get.
Yeah, no.
Because you
No,
get
that's
no
it. I
time.
remember my train of thought there. We had to do this sort of on good faith because
Yeah.
the permadeath thing is only a Last of Us Part 2 option.
Yeah.
We kind of had to just go,
Stuck in Bill's shit.
So okay, so you come to a point in the story where you go to Bill's Town. It's called Bill's Town, so
Sure.
it's run by a guy called Bill, and he sets these traps for the runners. And there's a point in the story where you get stuck in a trap. It's a snare, and it pulls you up to the ceiling, but you're hanging upside down, and you have to clear the room of
but the
runners.
controls are inverted and everything.
They're
as
all
well.
inverted, and you have I think it's like 14 bullets. Ellie will throw you a couple more, but there's like I think you get 14 bullets, and I think there's like 10 or 11 runners. And it's
at least 3 or 4 clickers as well. So
if you don't kill them all, Ellie dies and you die. I couldn't get past it. I didn't try very much because it was frustrating, and I just sort of, well, let's move on to the next game.
yeah,
Let's move on to the next one, which is a really interesting thing to say. I have completed less games in 2023 than I have in the past 5 years, but I've played way more games in 2023 than I have in a long time.
yeah. This
one thing
podcast
about
has
this-
ruined game completion.
Oh, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Up until I got my Steam Deck, I hadn't completed a single game this year because of going from game to game to game to
Wow.
game. It's completely changed my games playing. I'm one of these ones who I'm not as bad as Sherry for it, but I'll start a game, a sale will happen, I'll buy a new game,
Yeah.
start new game, go, oh no, hold on, I didn't complete the last game, go back to the last game, sale happens, buy a new game, start that new game, and go, no, I haven't finished that game from 2 games ago, or the game that I bought last sale. And I would usually always try, like, I think last year I stopped buying new games. I was like, I'm not buying it when it comes out. I'll buy it a few weeks or months later, and when it's a wee bit cheaper, and sort of give myself time to complete games. This year it's out the window completely. Pretty much every game I'm playing is for this podcast,
Yeah.
whether it be a challenge or what I'm playing or whatever it might be. I don't know
I
about
mean,
you
there's
guys.
a lot of games that we touched I wouldn't have played at all, but I played because of the podcast. Last of Us being one of them.
Yeah.
And I did try and play it after we did this challenge because it is obviously a great game. COD I never played before, that particular COD. Surgeon Simulator never played. I've never tried to do speed runs before, so it was all new.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
no, I'm exactly the same because I'm very much. I get a game, I'll play that game to death. Story, side missions, the works, and then this podcast happens, and I'm like, oh, I can't. I think I learned this as well with the amount of time I put in. The fact that it took me like I would say 6 podcast weeks to sort of finally get that story locked in and finished. Whereas now I'm like, I get to learn to keep it a bit fresh and have something new to talk about each week. So I'm pumping the numbers out big time now just to get newer games and more game. Like you're only playing maybe an hour of a game, but you're playing about 10 games a week now at this rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, you just game hop. You're game hopping. Like, I would usually my games playing week in season looks like I'll do the challenge. I'll download the next challenge game and sort of like take a wee
Practice
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
have like a casual sort of what's this game all about, and then I'll play a third game or a fourth game for what am I playing, and it's usually that third or fourth game is the one I would usually stick with to complete. Like once I do a challenge, most of these games get deleted off the PlayStation hard drive, never to be seen again. Like Surgeon Sim, I've never played Surgeon Sim before episode 2. I'll probably never play it again unless we do like a remastered or
Redux,
whatever.
yeah.
But I'll never play it.
Yeah,
So,
no,
but
I'm in the
it's
same
just
boat
funny how
there.
it's changed habits. So it's you do hear podcasters going on about this all the time. Oh, all I do is play games now for this podcast. It's true because it's your content
That's
and
it.
it's the lifeblood of the.
It's just at the end of that we get to choose what games we play. So if there is
Yes,
like something we really want to do or make a challenge around, we
we
can
can just
just
do it. We can just
decide
do it.
that.
But yeah, the thing with us is as well. What I like most about this is we all have very different gaming interests. Where Sherry likes first person shooters, none of us do, unless they're called Titanfall 2.
That's it.
Obviously, Cardinal loves his strategies. I love my fighting games, and Tom likes
Just loves
know.
like long-winded story mode games.
games he
Basically, I'm
doesn't
very
have
much.
time for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually funny. There's loads of games I'm like, oh, I would love that game, and like Hogwarts. Like I say, was one. Once I got my PlayStation 5, I was like, I love Hogwarts, but it's a bit long.
A game that's gonna commit 100 hours of your life. It's very hard to find time to put 100 hours into it.
And a game's length now is a turn off for me completely.
Yeah.
Like Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out in a few weeks. I own Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the remastered versions, still in their cellophane because they're enormous, and I know I'll never finish it. So where's the point in starting it?
That's it.
But anyway, The
Baldur's
Last
Gate
of Us.
3 speed run.
The Last of Us. This one was. I think this is where we got into our flow, or like a bit of a flow.
Really into a rhythm
Like
now,
the making of it was handy because it was single player and we just do it in our own time. The editing of it, for my memory, I think Tomahawk, you maybe have edited that episode, or was it
Cardinal
me?
again.
It was Cardinal
It was
again.
It
me.
was a Cardinal because we had rather than do the whole gameplays in like one quad screen.
That's right. Round
share-
7 every time.
The 6 round
Oh.
7s.
That's
I
right.
used the same feature in Vegas, and I just rewrote every time.
I love it. Like the theory and the idea was there. I loved the concept.
Yeah.
It was just round 7 in
Just
round
fluffed.
2.
I loved it. It's round 7. It's round 7 again.
But it was really good, and it was a really nice flow for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just watching faff in between encounters, Cardinal just edited down to encounters, which I thought was an actual stroke of genius.
Yeah, so did I. And it
I
looked
think
really
that
good.
was a good idea. Started by I think it was a conversation between you two in our chat just about cutting out cutscenes,
Yeah.
right? And then we're sort of left with, okay, we've got segments here that we can just
Get rid
watch
of.
one at a
Chop
time.
and change with, because it also gave a good indication everyone died, and you had the "you are dead" graphic as well, which also lovely touch because Sherry just didn't want to ruin a good thing, and he
Yeah.
died. But he died, I think, via a little bit of a glitch. I think
A
something
glitch.
didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, I tested him out of his way and he gets stuck.
that's right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you were punching people through fences. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a show. That was, I think that was the start of, because we did get, with season one especially, we got into this is our run deadline, this is our recording day, this is our gameplay for the next episode. And it was like almost like production line. And it was
Exactly. Yeah.
all of a sudden making these episodes became very, very, very
Streamlined.
straightforward and easy.
Yeah.
And it was just very, very nice. It was a nice, and that episode 5 was the start of it. I think episode 5 is an absolute blinder. I think it's a really good episode. I really, really do. I think it's an absolute blinding episode. It's definitely the best of the first 5 episodes for a lot of reasons. I think it's the most accomplished. It's the most natural. The editing was the best in it. I don't know if you remember this, Tom, but your brother had said about the COD, the gameplay video looked low quality or something.
Like
Do you remember this?
compressed. Yeah, I remember it
Yeah,
was
and
a
then we were
big
like,
thing.
why is this? I can't remember how we fixed that at all. Was it
I
just
think just
Discord? Did we do?
because I think because we were just running it because we were converting it to YouTube, or we're not. Though it may have been
I can't remember.
compressing the format
We
of
were
it. But
uploading from the PlayStation to YouTube, and then what were
That's
we doing after
that's
that?
what it was, and then we were downloading it, and then YouTube added the download. If you upload your video, you can download the file.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's
we were
what they did
downloading it at a
different.
lower quality,
Yeah,
so we were compressing it ourselves by trying to edit them all
by
together. Yeah,
together rather than doing it individually and then putting them all in together. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, episode 5. If there's only one episode, if you haven't heard episode 5, there's one episode to go back in the first 5 or 4 for the
yeah.
absolute comedy of
But it's quite
I
good though.
just
I
watched
think.
back a scene for and Tom, you are like trying to jump as we try and run away, and I remember, I remember the reps as we discussed the episode. Love us saying, "Why are you buddy hopping? Why are you?" But
that's
Because the
pointless.
character's garbage at running, it turned out.
but and also bunny hopping because they have stamina bars. But we've had this discussion. We've had this
Yeah,
discussion. Don't bunny hop in a
no,
modern
not at
game.
all.
But
But even just sort of circling back, I think what was the running order for The Last of Us? Sherry died at pre-dock. Cardinal died at the
yep,
dock.
yes,
I died just out of just beyond the wall,
yes.
and you
And I
died
died at the second clickers.
at the second set of clickers. Yes,
Yeah,
but I remember you ran
Miles.
into a few problems with yours because you couldn't pick up the revolver for a long period of time.
That was edited out. But yeah, just when you come across just before you drop down into the second clicker encounter, you have to get the revolver off the corpse. And I don't know if it was because of the 4K the update or whatever it was. It just I couldn't move, and it wouldn't allow Joel to put the bag on the on the ground. And it was just he was
Oh, I
putting the
remember
bag down
that.
and
Yeah.
picking it up, and you can't do anything. It's like a story point. You have to equip the revolver, otherwise you can't
Mhm.
I
move.
can't
And
progress the story. Yeah.
I remember just having to rotate Joel really slowly, and like when I mean rotating him, you can't move him because he's locked in place. So I had to start the animation to open the bag while holding the analog stick to make him. So every time he was put the bag down, he was moving incrementally, and then all of a sudden it worked, and I was like, because I remember just like, see if I can't progress because I can't put my bag on the floor, I'm gonna go bananas. My PlayStation will
Could
be
you
thrown out the
imagine?
window.
It's like, oh,
That
Luvva
would have been
never actually
content, wouldn't it?
died. He was just stuck.
That would have been content. That would have been payback for leaving you behind in the bridge and Left 4 Dead.
True, true.
But I suppose the last thing to talk about here is the results of episode 5. So,
Ooh, what
so
happened?
the league table at the end of episode 5 looked like this. I was top with 10 points. Tom was second with 10 points. So we split those because I had won more challenges. So that's why I went top. That comes into play later on the season
Big
as
time.
well.
Yeah.
And then Cardinal was third with 7 points. So and then
Captain
Sherry was
Consistent.
4th with 4 points. So yeah, it was pretty much as it were. This episode is the start of my streak where I stay top for
Pretty
a
much.
significant
Yeah.
amount of time. But we'll leave the retrospective there. That's the end of episode 5. It was the mid-season point, and that's when we decided, do you know what? We'll cut off here and we'll discuss 6 to 10 next time. So we'll get to the roundup, gentlemen.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Yep, that's it, gentlemen. That is another episode all wrapped up. As I said, that's the first 5 episodes. We'll continue 6 to 10 in the next episode, which all that leaves now is just to do the hardest part of the podcast. Can I remember everything that I have to remember? And can I get through this 1 week without making an absolute horlicks of it? Let's find out. Let's find out. If you want to join in the conversation about any episode that we have talked about, episodes in season 1, any episode 1 to 10, every episode has its own server on Discord. You can find our Discord link in the description below. If you want to take part in any of the challenges of any of those 10 episodes, there's also a wee challenge server for there as well. Once you get in there, you'll find it all. It's really clearly laid out. Cardinal's done a wonderful job on it. We have leaderboards and everything. Brilliant, good crack. If you want to see what we have in store for season 2, I think it's fair to say that our Instagram is going to start running little hints and tips and games and all that sort of good stuff. You can find us on Instagram. It is at High Scores High Stakes Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter, where we do much of the same stuff, but also we do This Day on PlayStation, where the last week, 6 days of the last 7 have been NCAA football games. Yes.
A nightmare.
So on Twitter,
I've never even heard of this before. But
it's the
the
college
definition
football. Like, I have
of
no
the
idea.
Summer Games drought. That's what it is.
It's magnificent, and I've looked for tomorrow. There's no more. It's over. The streak is over. Sorry, but if you want to join in the good crack and see NCAA games getting hyped up like you've never seen before, you can find us on Twitter at HScores We're also on Twitter individually. I'm at Mr_Luvva_Luvva. Cardinal is at Cardinal_Smith_. Tomahawk is at Tomahawk_HSHS. Mr. John Sherry is at Mr. John Sherry. You can also, if you want to see the full video podcast and you're not on Spotify, you can find us on YouTube now. It is youtube.com/at High Scores High Stakes. Every episode will be there by the end of this week. Actually, we have fallen behind on the upload schedule, but we will pick up on that. We'll get all the extra episodes that should be there this week sometime. And then that leaves us with the latest and greatest social media of all time, Threads. On Threads, we are High Scores High Stakes Podcast. Easy peasy. Find us there. It's much the same as Twitter. It's good crack. We're a bit more active there than what we are on Twitter, probably, but catch us on all of them. And that means you'll never miss a single thing of High Scores High Stakes, your favorite podcast, and the only gaming podcast on the internet. TM. Don't
Google that.
That all that leaves me to say, hopefully, is I've been Mr. Luvva. This has been High Scores High Stakes. Until the next episode, love y'all. Bye.
You crushed it. You did it.
Goodbye.
I did it.